You're listening to the Youth Critic Podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at DecibelUNG Radio and find us on Twitter at DecibelUNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Youth Critic Retrospectives. I am your host, Kiel Smith, and joining me today is Justin Mayhew.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And today we are going to be discussing Cliffhanger.
Sly Stallone, yes. Oh, man, I said I wasn't going to say that, but
It's Sly Stallone making climbing mountains
action
and
movies. What else do you expect? Right?
fighting international bank robbers
Yeah,
or something like that, I guess.
Jet money heist.
Yeah.
And the bad guys, John Lithgow, with a British accent, Mike.
Is that a British accent? I couldn't tell.
It's supposed to be. I'm pretty darn sure he's supposed to be doing a British accent.
Oh my God, I couldn't tell. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So for this episode, we are going to be talking about Super Mario Brothers like tomorrow. We're going to release that episode in about 24 hours from now. But for now, we're going to talk about Cliffhanger, Sly Stallone's movie, the movie that came out on the same weekend as Super Mario Brothers, but also did exponentially better.
Right. This was actually a hit. I mean, this was still when Stallone was
Yeah.
a box office draw. He hadn't really,
Right.
He's sort of semi-retired now, as far as I can tell. The Expendables is basically all he's doing nowadays.
No, he's doing the Escape Plan movies.
Oh, he's with Arnold?
I don't think Arnold's in the next one, but
Oh, okay. All right.
but he's doing that, and then he's filming Creed 2 right now.
Okay. But is he going to be in Creed 2?
Yes.
Okay.
He co-wrote the script.
Yeah. So, I mean, the last I really was thinking about was like Expendables 3 or something like that was the last,
It was his last. I think it'll be his. Other than these Escape Plan movies, it will definitely be his last action. Well, you have to understand he's also in his 70s.
Right.
So yeah, he's getting a little old right now, but he's kind of finding a second light in those Creed movies.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But this was, still when he was in his first iteration.
Right. This was right, but still, this was kind of after Rocky 5 had kind of bombed because it was Rocky 5.
What's the one where he was frozen and sent to the future with Sandra Bullock? Wesley Snipes was the bad guy.
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. That wasn't too much later than this, was it?
He was actually filming this right after this. He was filming Demolition Man right after Cliffhanger.
So this is like the next movie.
Yeah, he did this and Demolition Man back to back.
And that was pretty. I mean, that's memorable for most people.
It is because
Sylvester Stallone movie.
It's more than just an action movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think we should talk about that eventually because it's actually kind of building its own little cult audience.
Right. I'm not a big fan myself, but I do know a lot of people who do enjoy that movie. So.
Right. Yeah. But going to Cliffhanger. So Cliffhanger came out on May 28th or the 6th of 1993. It came out on that same weekend, around Memorial Day weekend, and it was a huge hit. And to give a little bit of background info, back in 1990, after director Rennie Harlan had finished Die Hard 2, and he was in post on Ford Fairlane, he got the script.
That's a forgotten movie right there, and well, it should be.
Probably so. He got the script for Cliffhanger, but wasn't really interested because he wanted to do other things other than action. So it took executive producer Mario Kazar to convince him to do it, and on top of that, he basically said, "Look, the Stallone is in it. Like he wants to do it." So him and Stallone basically rewrote the script to what it is. And the big draw for Harlan was the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah.
That was his big...
The actual cliffhanger.
Right.
Which is at the beginning of the film. And also, I'd just like a side note here that there was a rock climber, author, and teacher, John... I can't remember his name right now.
Let me pull... I can pull it up.
He wrote a short story based on his own experiences, and then they expanded that into this movie from this actual rock climber's, adventures around the world. So...
but yeah, it was... Let me see if Wikipedia has that.
It should.
John Long.
John Long, yes, that's who it is. He's a climber, adventurer, and he wrote a novella that's roughly similar, and he pitched it to the movie companies. And
he wrote, and I think it was more of a treatment.
Well, he had a novella, then he actually wrote a screen story for it too, but it's sort of loosely based on a real dude, if you will. That Slyvester Stallone is very roughly based on this John Long fellow. But yeah, the cliffhanger at the beginning of the film, which is interesting, that they put an actual literal cliffhanger at the beginning of a film with some really shoddy carabiners. I'll tell you, those things are crap.
Oh, you mean the thing that holds them
Yes,
up?
The little latch. It's not actually a carabiner. It's the slit latch, the friction latch.
Right.
And you see it. What did they build this out of? Pewter?
Yeah, it is just this poor girl's mistake that she just so happened to have it.
Well, that's the way it always goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're afraid of heights, if you are an acrophobe, you may be a little trepidatious about this movie. There's a lot of hanging off of very large rocks.
Oh yeah, I mean, here's the thing about this movie. I saw this on a little 27-inch screen in my house on DVD, and even then, I was still impressed by the cinematography, the way
cinematography is gorgeous.
how it was shot in angles. And yeah, there's still a lot of blue screen. They still use a lot of matte compositing for close-ups with the actors, but still it's very well done. And that's the big takeaway I have with Cliffhanger is everything about the movie is well executed.
Rennie Harlan of Speed, as we pointed out, is, if nothing else, a very assured action director. He knows how to stage and choreograph and wrangle action.
For a while he
stuff.
did.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is in that period, and I would say that if you're into Speed, then you would probably appreciate this. It's in the same era.
He didn't direct Speed.
He didn't? Who directed Speed?
John Labatt.
John Labatt. Okay, what did Rennie Harlan do? He did stuff later. The Long
Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah,
he did Cutthroat Island.
Yeah, well, that one was terrible.
He did the fourth Nightmare on Elm Street movie. That was actually his first breakout hit.
Okay. Well, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm a big fan of those movies. So John Labatt did Speed though.
Speed 2, Twister, Lara Croft, The Haunting remake.
That's interesting because those other movies I don't really care for. Speed seemed a little out of character for the rest of those movies of John Labatt's.
Right, and so yeah, I mean and that was the big takeaway of Cliffhanger is it's impeccably well made, and you can see they went out in the snow. It's not like I look at Everest and I feel the movie about Mount Everest that came out a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, the recreation of the terrible blizzard based on true life events.
Yeah, and for me, it's so obvious, when they're on top of the mountain, and I don't know if it's because it was so digital, it was shot on digital or whatnot, but but everything around them looked like plaster or it looked fake, whereas in this movie, everything looked real. Everything looked compelling. Everything was, shot and edited in a compelling way to where you couldn't tell that it was you just didn't linger on a shot long enough to tell, oh, it's just a miniature.
Well, I would tell you, if you didn't like the movie, it was kind of a real gloss over. The book is much more harrowing. The books that they based a lot.
The book that's based on Cliffhanger.
Everest, yeah, and you learn a lot of stuff.
Okay.
There was an IMAX team up there on that mountain. during that blizzard.
Right.
They had one of those gigantic 70-millimeter cameras with them. Those monsters.
15 by 70 millimeter
huge.
cameras.
And you got film that's
about the size of a
2 inches,
fist.
wide, and this gigantic camera. And they're hauling it around in this blizzard, where these people are dying.
Right.
And so, I mean, the whole thing is outrageous, and it's an interesting read if you read the
Oh
backstory
yeah.
to the movie.
Oh yeah. I'm not like saying the events were not compelling.
That's what I'm
I was just making a comparison.
Right. No, I agree. I'm saying that if you're interested in knowing about these events, read about it. The movie is really just a gloss over. Yeah, I'm not.
Right.
The movie doesn't really. It really skims the surface and never. I think it's a PG-13 movie, and we have something
I think
like that.
so.
Yeah, and when you do something like that, like this movie is an R-rated movie.
Yeah, this is a hard R.
And because they say fuck all the time in this movie,
And there's blood squibs.
Huh?
There's blood squibs in the movie.
Oh, lots. And it's slow mo. Rennie Harlan's got these. He's almost operatic in slow mo. The machine guns are shooting in slow mo.
He did slow mo.
The jumpers are
He did slow mo before Michael Bay and Zack Snyder.
I think maybe he took it from
Tony Scott.
That or The Godfather. The slow motion death of James Caan. Didn't they shoot that in slow mo?
I don't remember it being slow mo, but it could have been.
But there were a lot of bloods and squibs in that movie. Anyway, the production value is much higher on this than versus Everest. Everest is really like a Disneyfied version.
Sort of, yeah. I would say more Hollywood. It's a very Hollywood, and then
potato, but I think we're getting at a similar thing. It's really just a gloss over. It doesn't get touched too deeply. It pulls back the more disgusting, heart-wrenching aspects, like the Texan that walks down the mountain. They only gloss over the fact they lost both his hands and both of his feet. In that he was walking on completely frozen feet.
Yeah.
In that, and they kind of just sort of, glide over it. They don't, that's a horrific thing.
You see at the end of the movie that he lost.
Yeah.
He was a quadruple amputee at that point.
Yeah, I think he lost part of both his hands and all of his feet.
God.
Anyway.
So do you want to describe what Cliffhanger is? Because the opening is compelling, but for me, it doesn't match with the rest of the movie.
There's a good hook at the beginning with Michael Rooker and his girlfriend are trapped on the top of a spire in this national park they're in, and he's wounded his knee, and they're waiting for a rescue, and of course, Slyvester and his pilot show up.
His pilot, and then another person shows up, and what happened at the opening is Michael Rooker makes it across just fine. His strap or thing, whatever you said earlier it was, but it holds through because how they're saving them is they're basically creating like a line,
a zip line,
a zip line.
And they say, it's because there's so much wind. But if you notice the camera, their smoke is going straight up. There's absolutely no wind.
Yeah,
you can tell there's no wind up there.
Yeah, and even with a lot of wind, still a helicopter wouldn't make it up there anyway. Or it wouldn't have a good landing, and on top of that, it's still risky
to do a 4,000-foot zip line in the wind.
Yeah,
These both sound like bad ideas.
Yeah, it wasn't the brightest idea, but hey, this is how we open the movie, and so Michael Rooker gets across, but his girlfriend has a harder time because her buckle on her strap
friction buckle is twisting and like
it's just like loose. It's tearing.
Yeah, you see the actual metal tearing, and it looks like it's coming apart like pewter.
Yeah, it's coming apart like rubber.
Rubber or pewter, yes. And she drops her stuffed animal down.
Yeah, that was attached to her. Yeah.
And it's a good piece of filmmaking. The foreshadowing, of the
yeah, and it shows what's.
I would I like to nitpick, and
okay.
I would have done more of a Hitchcockian like push zoom or something from the top and watching this guy going down. The sideways telephoto, seemed not quite as effective to me as if they had seen the full impact of it going down into the gorge from above. I was thinking
you would have had more shots of that because there are a couple of those.
Yeah, but they don't show it overhead. They have a lot of telephoto, from an angle from the side.
Right, for the dummy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, of the stuffed animal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have done a more stark angle on the stuffed animal to start with to set up that fear and the building dread a little bit more. But other than that, it's a fairly effective opening scene, and that
Yeah, it's extremely
spoilers. She dies.
Yeah, Sylvester he zip lines his way over there to try and get her, and try and maybe get her back attached or put her on her, do something to prevent her from falling, and it doesn't. And in a shocking twist, and I guess at the time there wasn't a Stallone movie where he didn't save someone or whatnot.
I'm not aware of one.
Because Harlan mentioned that he wanted to do a movie where Stallone just didn't save someone or couldn't. He did everything he could and still didn't work.
Yeah.
And he drops and he just can't hold on. He gets the glove, and of course the glove comes off, and it's effective. I mean, and Stallone, he can't help it with his accent. He can't help it with the, he can't. He's not.
Yeah, it never really. I don't get the.
It doesn't bother me.
Really, I've never really had an issue with.
People do end up. People do end up. I don't want to say stereotyping, but they kind of typecast him in the tough, what you were describing, tough,
love to do that.
macho. But in that scene, it was effective. You can tell that really, and you can tell in the following scenes that it fucked him up.
Yes, and it did, and it. Michael Rooker is angry, very angry about it.
Obviously, well, I mean, he's angry at himself and angry at
He blames both of them. He blames himself and he blames Walker, Gabe Walker, for it. Stallone's character, by the way.
Yeah, and it's a powerful, and those moments are powerful.
Frankly. That kind of fizzles out in the second half of the film after John Lithgow, the Englishman.
It fizzles once the movie gets started. Once everybody gets together.
Yeah, that I would have liked that a little bit. Hang on to that as more of a subplot. Is Michael Rooker's character? Sorry, is Michael Rooker's character going to side with Gabe, or is he going to side with the bank robbers because of the past indiscretion? And they never even. That never comes.
They never touch on that. They never touch on that.
It would have been an interesting little subplot about their character that they just kind of goes away, and that's kind of a flaw with the movie, I think.
Yeah, that's my thing too, because really, you could cut those. Really, I don't want to say you can cut those out, but it really, what happens at the opening
stays in the opening.
Yeah, it stays in the opening. It stays in the first act, and it never really pays off. There's there's a moment in where Stallone's character has his co-pilot or friend,
Jeanine Turner.
Turner. There's a moment where she's hanging on, and then there's it's shot just the angles are just exactly like that.
But it doesn't involve the pathos of Michael Rooker.
Right.
It's purely symbolic. It isn't plot driven. Then it's just
it's a symbolism.
It doesn't have a B plot kind of an element to it there.
Right. But other than that, I mean, it stays in the opening, and it really, for me, I thought we were getting a movie like Vertical Limit, where maybe people got stuck on a mountain, and Stallone and Rucker have to go up there.
You'll have to remind me what Vertical Limit was.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But I thought we were going to get a movie where Stallone and Rucker were going to have to go up a mountain and have to save some people, and that was going to be kind of the drama or the plot of the movie.
Instead, it's a heist movie.
Instead we get this fucking jet heist movie.
Oh, man. And John Lithgow is an Englishman. I just cannot get over that. Cut him fucking loose. And it's almost as bad as that, people. I'm not kidding.
John...
You didn't even know he was trying to do an English accent.
I thought he was just being peculiar. Thought he was just trying to be an over-the-top Bond villain.
That's not trying. Lithgow is peculiar.
I thought that was Lithgow just trying to be like a Bond villain or something.
Well, how do you be a Bond villain except...
peculiar.
British and peculiar?
Yeah. So I was just like,
What? How peculiar?
But I mean, I will admit, and this poor, this agent, let me pull up his name real quick. This agent that's in the movie.
The Treasury agent?
Travers, he fucks up so fucking badly. He fucks up.
One thing I was impressed with, though, during the heist, they cabled 2 jets together. What? But they actually did this in real life, in the film. It's not computer animated.
Yeah.
It's not Matt. They actually had a real human being zip line between 2 jet airplanes, and they paid him $1 million to do it, people.
Yeah, and...
It's real. It's a real stunt.
It is. It's going back to the... I mean, it was copied again in Dark Knight Rises in that prologue, but still, it's an incredible stunt. Like, that's why I say, like, I mean, the scene still has miniatures. It still has compositing and whatnot, but still, someone did that stunt for real.
This, at 14,000 foot in the air, strapped between 2 friggin' jet planes, this fucking moron... Well, he got $1 million for it, so...
Right. This crazy... Well,
this crazy son of a gun, right?
Well, if you know what you're doing, I don't think you're a moron.
Right, but it's still, I mean, that's some crazy shit right there.
That is.
That's some crazy shit right there. And if you
and
don't
that's a one-take kind of deal.
Right, and if you don't see this movie or anything else, just watch this movie to appreciate that gonzo bonkers stunt, It
is, but still, we have to talk about this scene because it starts out brilliantly because we think like one of the people like in the plane, one of the like the senior officer that's like in the middle is like the one that's trying to take over everything. But then it's Travers turns everything on everyone, and then the co-pilot gets killed and the pilot's now driving but Travers didn't shoot someone in the head, and so now this one officer. Sabotages the whole thing.
He's got his Uzi. He's shooting a Learjet with his Uzi.
Yeah. and basically Travers just fucks up the whole thing.
Yes. And, he says, how did you ever think this harebrained scheme was going to work? And I agree. It's like, why would you guys, you're out of your minds to think this kind of a complicated, ridiculous Rube Goldberg heist is actually going to work. So, of course, they lose the money. That's what's going to happen from the Of course you're going to lose the money.
I mean, the chances of this working is like...
Nil? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what? Why? Why would you... This is... I mean, how desperate are you? How bad is college fun?
This is the plan to rob a jet that Johnny Knoxville would have come up with in Jackass. That's how ridiculous this heist is.
Yeah, and and then of course they land and no one gets severely hurt.
Well, they crash land.
They crash land and thank God no one gets hurt. Everyone makes it out okay, even though there's like there's like I guess like they dumped the fuel or something before they did that.
And they had no hydraulics because the hydraulics were gone. The guy with the Uzi had almost shot their pilot again. All the windows were shot out.
Jesus Christ! Like how these people are lucky and unlucky at the same time. Yep. And of course, they, convince, or they trick, Rucker's character and Stallone's character up there to go and save them and basically be their guide to get their money.
Yeah, they use the beacon to call it like a distress beacon to get the Rangers up there, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they basically hold them hostage, basically.
Well, they hold, Rucker hostage, but Stallone, being Stallone, gets away.
Right, but they attempt to use them as leverage,
right.
to get their money down the mountain.
Yeah, even though, so why do we need guides to get, can you, their tracking devices, out of, it's kind of convoluted.
Don't they have some sort of a beacon on the money or something like that?
Yeah, they have a beacon. They can see where it's at, so I'm just go, towards it. Use, a compass, I hope one of your team members knows how to use a compass or something. Use that, and then use your skills to get off. And then after you get all the money, then get help, and then they'll come and get you. And then and they're gonna ask questions about what's in the suitcases or whatnot.
Yep.
So
and
I don't know. This scheme is so half-assed.
If you could come up with a worse way to rob your $10 million, I'd like to hear about it. This is interesting.
Yeah, and of course Stallone, he gets the money and then he keeps, throwing away the money.
Yep.
So now there's like a mountain in America that has like hundreds of millions of dollars.
And he keeps doing it. At the end, he does. John Lithgow doesn't expect him to do it again. When he throws it into the helicopter blades,
Yeah.
Spoilers. I've just ruined the end of the
Yeah,
movie.
we're going through the end.
Yes, this is a 25-year-old movie. So.
Yeah, just turned 25 like 2 weeks ago.
So spoilers don't. Well, you've been warned. Was it the 5-year rule for spoilers or something like that?
Oh, I usually just go by the 2-week rule.
Oh, okay.
So for whatever reason, people want the 5-year rule, but I go by the 2-week rule.
Right, but you have heard about the 5-year rule then.
Yes, I have.
Anyway, spoilers. John Lithgow does not get his money.
Shocker, and he kills people on his crew.
Yes, there was a Kids in the Hall skit many years ago where bank robbers, all wearing different animal masks and suits and machine guns, kidnap a guy as a hostage, a human shield against the cops. And he's like, I'm so busy, I've got to go to the dry cleaners and the bank and the library and drop this stuff off. And he browbeats these bank robbers into taking him on his errands. And he goes to the dry cleaners, and the dry cleaner gives him guff and says, you don't have your ticket and stuff like that. And the head honcho of the bank robber says, well, if you don't give him his dry cleaning, this will happen to you. And shoots one of his own henchmen. Like the classic thing in the movies, where why would you work for this asshole? He's always shooting your friends. The classic, bad guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's and I hate to keep harping on this, but both Travers and Michael Rooker's character Hal, they both keep fucking it up for everyone, because Hal keeps fucking it up for everyone by, well, I mean, not really fucking it up. Like, he tries to announce and save everybody. And I'm like, why don't anyone just shoot Hal in the head?
Well, my favorite part where he's doing that is when they come up with the dude bro base jumpers.
Right.
And he's trying to tell them to get off the mountain. They're like, dude, this is our mountain. We can do whatever we want here because we're, it's a national park and all that.
Yeah, we pay the taxes or whatnot.
The guys actually starts aiming a gun at him, and they finally figure it out and start running. And as they're firing, and Rooker's trying to get them out off the mountain, in slow motion, he's
oh God, yeah, that was
terrible.
terrible.
And the guy shooting in slow motion. They have and Rennie did this a couple times in the movie where you're shooting a machine gun and you see the super slow mo.
It's like John Woo.
Yeah,
like all you need some doves, then
and the slow mo, and there's no sound. It's just music. It's all
just dramatic music.
Yeah, and so you have the slow mo machine gun, and you can see the smoke and all this stuff coming out of the squibs, and the guy going, flailing around.
Stuff we now parodize today.
Yeah. And kind of over-the-top death scenes, yes. And they are a little bit more cliched looking than they used to, I imagine. But yes, yeah. and then right after that, the other base jumper survives, but he's attacked by the fluffiest, gruffiest, huskiest looking wolves.
Yeah,
they look they're so fluffy, husky looking guys, like stuffed animals almost.
And of course,
he's in danger of being snuzzled to death.
Older guy gets, shoots a gun in the air and
scares the wolves off, which are, actually huskies. they're actually all, really, really puffballs. So.
Yeah, and then the helicopter pilot that's trying to find everybody finds
Jenny Turner.
Yeah, or not Jenny Turner, but he finds like the group.
Yeah. Yep.
And then everything. And then he gets like John Woo to death.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck on it. Now it's John Woo. That's a John Woo thing.
Yes, the slow mo death. That is a good appraisal of it. I hadn't put my finger on it, but that Hong Kong Gonzo style. Yes.
Yeah, and it's. And look, we're making fun of it. We're laughing at it, but I thought it was effective. I thought, it's still effective.
Yes, I think that it's gotten more cliched now. That people have parodized it, often enough that we have the parody in our mind now a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you think about it, only a couple of years later, John Woo was making Face Off and Broken Arrow.
Hard Target.
Those are all mid-'90s movies theirs, And that they were fairly well regarded at the time they came out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and that's the thing I'll say about Cliffhanger is it's a very typical '90s movie.
Right.
It just somehow, for whatever reason, still opens with like one of the most dramatic openings of like the 90s.
If you like Speed or those kind of things, you'll probably dig this all right, I think. You know?
Yeah, it's a fun movie, and it's a fun movie. It's not a deep movie. It's very much a typical 90s action movie. Very well made. I would even we look at The Revenant now and think, man, they must have busted balls just to get those shots and get all that,
these guys are hanging off the sides of freaking mountains.
Yeah. And you have, the DP, Alex Thompson, who was even at the time like an old man. Like, he's doing the best work he's ever done in his career.
And I mean, the photography of the mountains is gorgeous. And also, they didn't film it in the United States for the most part.
They filmed it in Italy, in the Alps.
The Dolomites, man.
Yeah.
And they're gorgeous. Oh, it's so beautiful. The mountains are so beautiful in this.
Yeah, and they had to go to Italy because I think they were still filming this in the summer of '92, and so they had to find mountains that just had snow everywhere.
Actual real snow instead of having to make it.
Right. Well, I mean, if they had to make it, it would be just more equipment. They had to haul up a mountain.
Yeah, so it's cheaper just to find snow.
Yeah, it's just cheaper. And yeah, they filmed in Italy for most part. They did do some some stuff in America and Canada.
Yeah, Canada, Utah. I remember. I thought I
Colorado,
saw
I think.
Colorado. Yeah.
They did do some other area. They did do some American filming, but primarily the whole movie is shot in Italy.
And it's gorgeous. I mean, the cinematography when they're doing their talkie and walkie scenes.
Right.
Between Janine Turner and Slyvester Stallone, and they're down in the valley, and they've got the little farm and the creek and the mountains in the background. It's really nice travel photography at the very least.
It is. It's really well done. I applaud Rennie Harlan for his efforts. I hate that his career kind of pedaled out after Cutthroat Island.
I mean, Cutthroat Island kind of piddled it out, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I look, I haven't seen it. I can't make a judgment on if it's good or bad.
Oh.
Okay. But it's still, I can't make a judgment. But Rennie Harlan was on fire for a little bit.
Right. Well, here, let me make a comparison for you as a sidetrack into Rennie Harlan and subsequent movies. He and Gina Davis were married at the time that they made Cutthroat Island. And the same thing that I get from that movie is the same thing I get from Rob Zombie constantly casting his wife in his movies, and it's such a vanity move. And she's not the best actress in the world, Right. And he's not the best director in the world. Fuck you guys. Rob Zombie sucks as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I get you. I hate Halloween.
Yes, the remake of Halloween is pathetic.
His Halloween. I don't mean the John Carpenter one.
No, the John Carpenter one is.
I feel like I had to specify.
Yes. The remakes of Halloween suck donkey balls.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, I agree, and maybe that's the case. I have to watch Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh, they say. But what about the House of 10,000 Corpses? Fuck you guys with that crap rip-off shit.
Anyway, I still have to see Long Kiss Goodnight because I hear that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's better. Yes, that's got Samuel L. Jackson in it. So.
And Shane Black wrote the script.
Yes, so yeah. That I can tolerate. But Cutthroat Island was, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I might watch it again if you want to. But my appraisal right now is a vanity piece.
Okay. And I do need to watch Deep Blue Sea because I remember seeing that as a kid and actually really liking it.
Deep Blue Sea.
It's a goofy premise.
Yeah, the LL Cool J.
LL Cool J
as the cook, and Samuel L. Jackson being eaten by the shark. That's the highlights.
Yeah, because Thomas Jane is kind of like I don't know, the Harrison Ford or he's or like
as
it's
if anybody
the,
can do
the 99
Harrison
cent.
Ford.
The 99-cent version,
right?
Of
the
that.
discount store version, yes. And he's about as thin as wallpaper gruel, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
But Samuel L. Jackson and LL Cool J are the standouts in Deep Blue Sea, especially when, of course, the pivotal scene where Samuel L. Jackson is giving his motivational speech. And
then the sharks just come out of nowhere.
Yes, that's my favorite part of the film is where he gets interrupted in his pep speech. His pep rally gets literally bitten in half.
Yeah, you know what I just realized? I know we're going off track, but we'll end this in a few minutes.
Well, we're talking about action movies, so it's not that far off track.
Yeah, so I found out recently Rennie Harlan did one of the Exorcist movies, or he did Exorcist: The Beginning. which wasn't originally his movie. It was Paul Schrader's movie.
Yeah, the Exorcist at the beginning, that's the more recent, like the early thousands.
It was 2004 when they released it. And it didn't go off too well. People didn't like it at all.
Well, you think about the track record of any of the sequels, like Exorcist
The Heretic.
2, The Heretic, and Exorcist 3. Like, which one was it where they had the adult Linda Blair, and she's hooked up to the psychic machine, like doing the biofeedback
Heretic.
crap? Oh my God! Oh, that's a terrible movie again.
Also interesting about that movie is they were still re-editing that movie as it was still released. Funny story.
Our next movie, they were doing that with Mario Brothers. The next movie, they're like they're shooting and writing at the same time and editing at the same time.
And there's another movie like this in the same summer that we'll get to in a couple weeks. But, my God!
I mean, I would say that the Cliffhanger isn't my favorite action movie of all time.
No, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's watchable. I mean, it's worth a watch. It's definitely worth watching. It's got some fun. It's got some cliffhangers.
If it's on FX or TNT, or AMC, I guess would be more appropriate. Yeah. I would watch it.
Yeah, if it comes on TV, give it a go. It's worth it. I mean, I wouldn't say spend $10 on it or something.
No. No, I would say, it's a good TNT.
It's competently written. It's kind of a rewarmed story, but the characters are there. The cinematography is great. The action is for the most part tightly written and directed.
Yeah, it's a competently made movie. And you can tell that this was a struggle to make because. You can just tell because, I mean, I guess we're both filmmakers in the sense. We both understand what it takes to make a movie. But still, they were still filming on film, and it's just hard to photograph film. And so when you have that, and then you got snow blowing in, and then got to worry about helicopters. They had real helicopters flying, actors.
Yep. Well, I mean, you had to. I mean, there's no way to get up and down the mountain without, that sort of transportation.
Right, but I mean, just in the shots.
You mean the actual prop helicopters? Yes.
Yeah.
I thought you meant transpo helicopters.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they had some of that too.
Oh, of course, they had a bit. They had helicopters flying in shots. I mean, some of these shots in Cliffhanger Army are astounding because it's just so hard to choreograph them.
Yep. And here they are, at the very tippity top of the Dolomite Mountains in Italy, in the southern Alps, and it's snowy in the middle of high summer, for fuck's sake, and they're shooting these stunt scenes and things like that. The end helicopter scene where they have it on the Via Ferrata, the cable ladder,
right,
and it's hanging on it, and they're fighting on top of this helicopter.
Yeah,
and they have some wide shots that look pretty convincing. That I'm not sure those are composited.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool. I
on the top of a freaking mountain in the Alps.
Yeah, so I herald the team on this because this was
the production, the stunt crew, the stunt
visual
designers,
effects,
the visual effects, Rennie Harlan, the cast. Really a good effort.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, and I wish I could say the same about Super Mario Brothers movie, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, or in the next 24 hours. So, Justin, do we have any more to say on Cliffhanger? Because we're kind of approaching our time.
Okay. I'll just close out by saying Janine Turner sexually harasses her coworker / boyfriend, of course, at the beginning of the film. They have the Rube Goldberg heist in the middle of the air between two jets, and at the end, delayed helicopter explosion.
Yeah,
that's one of the main takeaways I can remember. And slow-mo bullets,
slow-mo gunfire. John Woo's, I guess, around the same time John Woo's.
The one heist member that Sylvester Stallone impales on a stalactite. That's in the middle of the film.
Wow.
That was. I actually giggled when I.
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh my God.
They're having to fight in the cave. And he's threatening Janine Turner. He's threatening the sexual assault bull crap they do, right? The bad guys,
right?
Threatens Janine, and so Sylvester Stallone is beat up, but he is
chivalry
and stabs this guy overhead on a hanging stalactite.
Yeah.
It's worth it for that. I chuckled out loud at that one. So.
Yeah, it's a fun. That one, it ran. That scene ran a little too long because it really is just annoying.
Well, there was a lot of talking in that cave. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Yeah, like the Falcon says in Civil War. Usually, there's not that much talking and fighting.
Or as Tuco from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly once said, "When you gotta shoot, don't talk."
Yeah, I liked Cliffhanger. I think it's a good movie.
Yes, watch it if you see it on basic cable, or if you have.
I saw it on
Netflix, or
I got it on the Netflix DVD thing.
Oh, okay, so you did the
I rented
disc
it.
return. Yeah, if it ever comes up on Prime Video or Cinemax or AMC,
yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah, give it a go. I think that's it for Cliffhanger. Justin, thank you for joining me. Do you have any plugins? I forgot. Do you have any plugins yet or anything?
Well, in the coming weeks, I'm developing these stories, and I'm doing my senior capstone this fall. So I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to direct, produce, or do a writing, a capstone.
Right.
So I need to get with some folks if they're interested to work on some projects. I have some pitches. If anybody wants to work on some pitches, sometimes for
right.
sitcoms and movie type things, right?
All right, cool. Okay, cool. Can I just hand them your email or something to contact you? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to put it on air now, or just give it to you later?
I'll put in the link below.
Okay.
I'll put it on the link below.
All right, so guys, if you guys want to do something this fall, let's see if we can get something going. Maybe you do a Kickstarter for something and actually have a fun.
Absolutely.
So.
All right. Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at MovieKale. You can also follow the show at The Youth Critic, and you can also follow the channel that distributes this podcast at KHZ Network. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please comment below. Tell us if we suck. Tell us if we're missing a movie from 1993 that we're gonna do, or that we didn't do, either due to we only can do these one a week or whatnot.
If you have a suggestion, in other words,
Yeah.
yes. And also, I caught your podcast on what they call Podbean.
Podbean, yes.
Yes, is that the only service that has it?
We're on Podbean, Stitcher, and iTunes.
iTunes, okay. So I can go to iTunes to get it then too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that covers. That was my question. So.
Yep. And we'll be back in just a little, in just a day, with Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
Happy trails to
Trust the fungus.